The lesson.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a lot of people know you as one of the original members of the Funkoars. Tell us, I guess, how that came into the fold, because I imagine that's all interweaved with...
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because I was DJing for after hours as such. I was hanging out with Hetty and edits and stuff and DJing for those guys because Javo kind of left. And Kirk was, you know, kind of brought Trials into the fold and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And those guys were unorganized at best, you know what I mean? Like they were haphazard, you know, hit and miss, but they were dope, you know what I mean? And they suited, like, their energy was like the energy I wanted to get into as well. So, you know what I mean? And they were very much, we were all friends, you know what I mean? And they were starting to come into the fold. So I started to help them out in shows. So, you know, they would do a show, I think it was like the After Hours launch, and they were supporting or whatever. And so I'd get up and DJ. I used to DJ for everyone back then.
I remember that.
You know what I mean? I literally was, if you didn't have a DJ, I'd stay on stage and scratch for you. That was the way I was, you know what I mean? You know, there's that Culture of Kings too, I think, video going around where I can't even remember. And I look back at it and I DJ'd for like Hunter and I DJ'd for like 4 crews or whatever. And I was like, you just don't see that nowadays, you know? Yeah, you know, that. So I started helping him out in a few shows, and I was working at Derringer's and helping him out with recording processes as well. Well, they recorded most of Stepdaddy down at like Sester's old place. And, you know, they wanted me to do some cuts on the record or whatever. And so, you know, I was pretty much part of the crew then, you know, and recorded cuts on it and mixed it as well. You know, I started mixing it because I was doing after hoursy stuff and a bit more of the engineer and kind of took control of it a little bit. You know, Kirk was also the manager of the band back then. So he was kind of looking after them and, you know, trying to get him, you know, organised. And so I kind of came along on board and kind of helped with that and kind of stuck. We saw eye to eye. We got along well then. So it's just crazy back then.
So basically, Who's Your Stepdaddy, the making of it is kind of what, by the time it was finished and you guys were pushing it, you were a Funkoar. Yeah. Now, I remember like with that record, 2003 is when it dropped. I mean, when you were making that record, do you remember the process? Because obviously the process changes quite a bit from...
Yeah, that was a different record for Oars because it was mainly recorded at Sester's place. So their vocal takes and the beat production, I wasn't privy to a huge amount of it back then. I literally was just a turntablist, if you know what I mean. And so I would get these, you know, Logic tracks that they'd kind of recorded on and such, and, you know, here's our vocal takes and stuff like that. And I'd go home and record my cuts and things like that over these tracks and send them through and say, hey, what do you think? And then I kind of, you know, mix them up as well. So they'd give me the full-on finished tracks as such, and, okay, I'll take it home and mix it as such. So I was more the finishing engineer or the mix engineer. And so, okay, I'll kind of collaborate, you know, put it all together. They didn't have a clue about how to do any of that. They would just wanted to rap, you know, and they'd make beats and they just wanted to rap on them. And so I'd kind of finish it as such. And here's a finished product as such, you know what I mean? Kind of get it done and introduce them to, you know, mastering and things like that. So go down to Neville Disc Edits and get it mastered. You know, I'd had a little bit of preview, you know, with Baz. You know, I was friends with Baz at that stage as well, and he was like the master at all this shit. So, you know what I mean? And I was obviously working at Derringer's and learning a great deal as well. So it was kind of like we were the two studio nerds, if you know what I mean, that would kind of oversee those type of things. So, you know, Baz was very much that, and I learned a lot of him in those early days as well.
And then I guess with the names of the songs and the concepts of the songs, that stuff was all sort of laid out before, you know, you came.
Pretty much. They were pretty much, that was all their kind of, you know, doing as such. I didn't really have much of a huge amount to say. I was obviously there for a bit of it and bits and parts of that. But Who's Your Stepdaddy was more about me just adding that flavour to it in terms of a turntablist flavour. And back then, you know, my skills were right up. So, you know, I kind of went nuts on a few of the tracks, you know what I mean? And that it was kind of like, and I kind of like that as well. The reason why I really wanted to do that as well, because there was bugger all turntablists at that stage doing cuts on records. Like, you didn't see that as much. You know, Baz would do some stuff, you know, next or whatever, so a matter of time and that. And this is before, you know, Lyrical Commission had really got, you know, Jay and that had gone out with his cuts and stuff. There wasn't a huge amount of turntablist kind of craziness, like, you know, Revolution kind of stuff on a track. So I kind of wanted to add that, you know, kind of flavour, going nuts on a track type of thing to a local hip-hop release. And, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to cement into that as well. So, yeah.
Now, when you were, you know, when you were formulating the record, the name Funkoars had already been established?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that was that was the doing of Charles and Seti and Hans pretty much, yeah.
And then, so what did you make of that name when you first heard it?
I can't even remember. I don't even remember, to be honest, back then. It was what it was. I think they knew it was a shitty name and they just kind of went with it, you know what I mean? It was the Halls of Funk and that was it, you know. It kind of stuck. It's kind of like Flashy D, you know what I mean? Like that shit stuck as much as I hated it, and it just stuck, you know. Yeah, and I wasn't around for most of that part, you know what I mean? That was just before I kind of come along, because that was CS9 before, and I were hanging out with other dudes, and Charles had that mixtape as well out, and a few other little beats, and he had a demo tape. Remember Charles's demo tape and shit?
I've heard about this stuff. I never actually heard any of the music.
Yeah.
I just remember hearing, the name CS9.
Yeah.
That was before I'd caught on.
Yeah.
You know, when I first caught on to the Oars, it was Who's Your Stepdaddy? And I remember obviously hearing the Funkoars, and then I heard Who's Your Stepdaddy? I'm thinking, this sounds dirty. And then I listened,
filthy as fuck.
And then I listened to the record, and I was just like, damn, these dudes are just like, they just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it was ruthless stuff, man. You know what I mean? Like, you can think about that record now and think about nowadays climate.
You couldn't get away with it.
It's just not going down anymore, you know what I mean?
I actually loved Behind the Stump.
Yeah.
I really liked that song.
Yeah.
And the one that shocked me the most, but also was memorable because of your cuts, was Kidney Shifters.
Yeah.
And you've cut up that Biggie Smalls, Here We Go, Here We Go. Yeah, man. Just the title itself, Kidney Shifters, I just remember just like, well, this will be interesting. And then you press play and you're like, yep.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. It's kind of ruthless, isn't it?
So how old would you have been when that?
I was definitely older than the other cats. So back then was 2003 or something. So I was about 20. What am I now? I'm 41 now, man. So late 20s, something like that.
And so when that, you know, when you're a part of a record where that's kind of content's come out, and, you know, it was the first of its kind, like to my memory, no one in Australia was really doing that type of rapper style. Yep. You guys cop any backlash? Or?
Oh, no, you know, trying to explain that to people around you is, you know, it was pretty hard type of thing, because you wanted to be proud of this music because you knew what it meant in the scene, but you can't play it to your mum, and you can't play it to, like, I work at Derringer's or something. I go to work and they're like, you know, Funkoars make a bit of a name for themselves, you know, they're making a bit of noise and shit like that, but they don't get it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And yeah, dude, for sure, you copped a bit of heat for that. You know, for you know, you just immature kids as such. You know what I mean? And it was, you know, to a certain degree, they're fucking true. It's right. It was. You know what I mean? I'm not denying that.
Yeah, it's a crazy.
But there was an element of hip hop that, I mean, what's, you know, a part of hip hop that I kind of like is that ignorant shit as well. To a certain degree, I kind of like a part of that, and, you know, that's gone now. You know what I mean? You can't have that anymore. So it's like, it was a part of the hip hop sound, and I think it's a part that needs to be remembered. But you know what I mean? Like, you can't do it anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's not getting radio spin.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? You know, and you know, it was, but that was part of it, was being, you know, against the system. You know what I mean? Fuck you.
Yeah, the rebellious side of hip hop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
absolutely.
And the dirtiest shit we did, it didn't seem to matter. You know what I mean? They'd just get stupid with it, and you'd only ever get more and more kind of rep. And so it would be like, oh, we'll just keep going with this then.
The lesson.
927. Oh, yeah.